Volcanoes and glaciers, two of the most awe-inspiring forces of nature. But what happens when these two titans of the natural world collide? You guessed it, we're talking about volcanic eruptions on glaciers. And let me tell you, it's a spectacle that's as spectacular as it is mysterious. Imagine, if you will, a vast icy expanse broken only by the jagged peaks of dormant volcanoes. The air is crisp, the silence is deafening, and the only movement is the slow, inexorable creep of the glacier itself. Then suddenly, without warning, the slumbering giant awakens. A plume of smoke and ash erupts into the sky, shattering the stillness and painting the snow-covered landscape with an eerie black and orange. That, my friends, is a volcanic eruption on a glacier. It's a rare and fascinating event that's captured the imagination of scientists and adventurers alike. But what actually causes these eruptions? Well, it all has to do with the unique conditions that exist at the intersection of fire and ice. See, when a volcano erupts on a glacier, it's not just the molten lava that emerges, but also a tremendous amount of steam. After all, water is literally the stuff that makes up glaciers. So when the glacier meets the lava, what happens next is truly mind-blowing. The intense heat of the eruption causes the ice to vaporize almost instantly, creating a massive explosion that can send the ash and debris from the volcano flying high into the atmosphere. But here's where things get really interesting. Because of the sudden expansion of gases, this eruption can produce an enormous amount of energy, enough to blast the top of a mountain or even level an entire valley. But before we get too carried away with these apocalyptic visions, it's important to note that eruptions like these are actually quite rare. In fact, they account for less than 1% of all volcanic eruptions worldwide. One of the best documented cases of a volcano erupting on a glacier occurred in 1980, when Mount St. Helens in Washington State blew its top and unleashed one of the deadliest volcanic avalanches in history. The eruption was so powerful that it wiped out everything in its path, including nearly 600 square kilometers of forest and 230 million cubic meters of glacier ice. The resulting lahars, which are volcanic mudflows, traveled down the Tuttle River and caused widespread devastation in the surrounding area. Another famous example is the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia, which is considered to be the deadliest volcanic eruption in recorded human history. The eruption was so massive that it caused temperatures around the world to drop by as much as 2 degrees Celsius and led to widespread crop failures and famine. But not all glacial eruptions are created equal. Some are relatively small and short-lived, while others can go on for days or even weeks. For example, in 2010, a volcano in Iceland known as the Bardarbunga started erupting beneath the nearby Ölfus Glacier. The eruption lasted for 6 months and produced a lava lake that was over 60 meters deep. While it didn't cause any major damage to the surrounding area, it did provide some stunning views of the northern lights dancing over the lava lake. So, why should you care about these volcanic eruptions on glaciers? Well, for starters, they're just plain cool to think about. Who doesn't love a good explosion of fire and ice? But beyond the ooh and ah factor, there's also a more serious side to these eruptions. See, as the climate continues to change and glaciers continue to melt, we may see more and more of these eruptions in the future, and that could have serious implications for the people who live near glaciers. For example, the melting of Arctic sea ice could lead to increased volcanic activity in the region, which could pose a risk to the many communities that are located nearby. It's still early days, but scientists are already seeing signs of increased volcanic activity in places like Iceland and Alaska. So, the next time you find yourself in a place with volcanoes and glaciers, better keep an eye on those ice giants. You never know when they might erupt. And who knows, you might just witness one of the most spectacular natural phenomena on Earth. Just don't stand too close. Thank you for watching. And as always, stay curious.